I have just got my hands on this new Orbea Orca Aero. Yeah, believe me, I do know how lucky I am. But I thought I would talk you through the process of setting a new bike up to your own personal preferences. It's not a regular, everyday occurrence, I grant you, but you may borrow one off a mate or you may hire one, so it's definitely a useful skill to have. The first thing I do when setting up a new bike is to get my saddle position sorted. Now the center point for all bike fit measurements is here, so the bottom bracket, and therefore everything that you do relates to this. So the first thing is to get my saddle height sorted, and that is nice and straightforward. So measured from the center of the crank spindle to the top of the midpoint of the saddle. I'm looking for 777 millimeters, since you asked. Then we want to get our layback sorted. So that's how far back you have your saddle in relation to, yes, you guessed it, the bottom bracket. So to find that measurement is a little bit trickier than your saddle height. You need a completely level floor and then a completely vertical wall. You then measure horizontally from the center of the bottom bracket back to the wall, and then subtract the distance from the tip of that saddle back to the wall. That will give you your layback measurements. So my saddle is now in the right position, so that's going to stay fixed there no matter what. So we're going to turn our attention to the next contact point, which is of course the handlebars. And the first thing we're going to do here is to actually get the drop right. So that's the difference in height from the saddle to the handlebars. And to find it, we measure vertically from the saddle to the floor this time, not the bottom bracket axle, and then do the same at the handlebars. Then to actually move that stem up and down, to change the height of the handlebars, we just simply replace spacers, so from either below to above in order to lower it, or from above to below in order to raise it up. And if you can't get your bars at the right height, then I'd suggest firstly that you may well have got the wrong size frame. If you're convinced that your frame is right, then unfortunately it is going to be new stem time. Now, as you can see, I've got a little bit of extra work to do to cut down that steer tube, but we'll not let that hinder us for now. The next measurement that we need to do is to check the reach. So the distance from the tip of the saddle to the center of the handlebars. Now, given that that saddle position is fixed, as we've already learned, the only way to actually adjust the reach is to buy a new stem, unfortunately. But before you rush out and order one, there is one other thing that may well have an effect on that. Bar and lever position. You see, you can get totally obsessed with stem length, or at least some people can anyway, but actually it might not mean all that much depending on what type of handlebar you've got, because actually the really important contact points, like the lever hoods and the drops, may vary by as much as 2 to 3 centimeters depending on whether you've got a compact handlebar or a traditional type of drop bar, all those different things. So actually, before you go and order a new stem, you need to check that the important things are actually in the right place. So for me, luckily, these are, but what I do need to do is now reset the lever angle, because I like a really nice flat transition from the top of the bars to the lever. And as you can see, that one's pointing up slightly. Unfortunately, to move them is a little bit labor intensive. You need to unwrap the handlebar tape very carefully as far as the lever clamp there. Then you loosen the bolt in the brake lever, move it down slightly to the desired position, and then retape it back up. And unfortunately, a bike is never going to feel right until you have your lever hoods in the right position for you. Now the bike nearly feels like mine now, but not quite. So I always go to the brakes to make sure that they feel as I want them to. Generally speaking, I seem to like a little bit more lever pull, so more squeeze on the brake than the average mechanic who sets up the bikes. So as you can see, that not much there. What I'm going to do is loosen the cable cinch bolt, then get like a millimetre or so of cable through, so that then I get them feeling as I want them. Okay, so the bike now feels like mine, but before I roll out the door on it, I've got to do that all-important bolt safety check. Now, don't get me wrong, I trust the Orbea mechanics who set this bike up implicitly, but at some point, you kind of got to take responsibility for your own bike. And so, with a trusty torque wrench in hand, I'm going to go over all the important bolts to make sure they are cinched up just the right amount. And even if you discount safety, it's actually just really annoying having something come loose on your inaugural bike ride on your new steed. All that's left to do now is pump up my tyres. Now, of course, the correct pressure for you depends on your body weight and also the roads that you ride on. But for me, on these 25mm Continental tyres, I'm going to go for 75 PSI, or about 5.2 bar, front and back. Nice and soft for crappy British roads. So that is how you make a bike feel like yours before you've even turned a pedal. Now, unfortunately, before I can be seen in public on this, I do have a little bit of homework to do. Obviously, I need to cut my steerer tube. If you need to know how to do that, we have a video on that already. So click just down there to see exactly what to do. Do make sure you subscribe to GCN as well before leaving this video. And then one last thing for you to maybe check out once you've finished this one is the video just down there, which is a little bit more information about those all important bike measurements.